What's up guys, and welcome back to round number 6 of my F1 2020 My Team career with the Mugen-Honda team, driving as Jenson Button, and today we will get into the Spanish Grand Prix. If you guys are still enjoying this series, do make sure to leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here, and yeah, the series is going alright at the moment. Last time out we were at the Dutch Grand Prix for the first time. So I'll leave a link in the top right corner if you haven't checked that one out. But that was the closest we got really to scoring points. Another P12. So hopefully we can improve on that today and get our first points of the season. Now the Dutch and Spanish Grand Prix are on back-to-back weekends, meaning we only actually have 2 days to fill with activities. We decided to go for some power team building because we harmed the department morale in the powertrain department in the last video by answering a question incorrectly, really. So yeah, it'll be good to get them onto some good morale. As you can see on screen, we have $2.7 million to spend on our facilities. So for the first time, we are going to upgrade the aerodynamics facility, spending $2 million on a certain part, and we are going to go for the quality control, which should mean that we have a lot less parts fail, because we have had some issues with that in the aero department so far. And then we still have about $700,000 left over, so we're going to decide to upgrade another one of our driver perks. So we decided to add a couple in the last episode, and to be honest, I only really discovered it before the Dutch Grand Prix. So yeah, we can either go for some media coaching or some social media team upgrade, and we're going to go for the social media one because it's only 275,000, and that will boost our acclaim by 10% and hopefully entice some new sponsors. So fast forward in the time, like I say, there's only a couple of days, but 2 upgrades, a power unit and an aerodynamics upgrade, are in before the start of this Grand Prix weekend. Now, although we applied a power unit engine wear upgrade last time out, and even though that we've already taken a penalty on all of the engine components, our engine is taking an absolute battering so far this season. So we're switching back to our original engine, which I think we used for the first 2 races of the season, maybe even just the first race. But yeah, you can see quite a lot of wear on the engine, and it's going to be a case of sort of toying around with it for the rest of the season. But we have some good news in terms of, firstly, the overall development progress. So you can see the morale in every team is good, and I'm not surprised, because look at that vehicle performance comparison. We've finally applied the day 1 patch to this career mode, and after those upgrades that we've got on the car, we are now the 6th fastest or 7th fastest team on the grid, which is unbelievable when you think about the fact that we've been pretty much 10th for the entire time. So yeah, you can see that Carl has given us a quick development upgrade, and you can see there we've overtaken Haas, Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri. And when we look at the full performance chart, you can see it's very, very close between Racing Point, McLaren and Renault. But apart from that, we're the best of the rest, so we should be able to fight for a Q2 place finally now. And we also have a couple more upgrades that are on the way for Monaco. Chassis and durability, so the chassis one will be really important for those Monaco streets. Getting into practice now, and it took us a little bit of time to get used to this Catalonia circuit, especially the final sector, because it's been reprofiled actually compared to previous games. That corner back there seemed a little bit less cambered, and this final chicane is a lot flatter, which I much prefer because I hated the old chicane, and I really wasn't a fan of the Catalonia circuit in previous games. But on this game, and throughout this race weekend, I really sort of started to get it hooked up, to be honest. You can see us here in the race strategy program, clipping a lot of apexes there, and very much up on our delta. And as we come through this middle sector, the car was just feeling really, really nice. Obviously, we've had a lot of upgrades applied, and we've had a little bit of a boost in terms of the day 1 patch. But yeah, it was just feeling really, really dialed in to the circuit. And you can see coming through this final sector on the qualifying program simulation, really, really pushing the car. And for the first time, we actually got full resource points on the practice programs. So the qualifying program, we come across the line to go purple there. Not purple as in our time, but purple as in the objective. And P9 as well in the at the time, which ended up P10, which is definitely our best result in a practice session so far. So yeah, I was feeling really, really confident going into qualifying. So going into the start of Q1 then, and you can see we're sat in P13 going on to our second run in the session, and we didn't have a brilliant first set, so you can see about 0.2 down on our previous best time, but we got through to the final sector, and yeah, middle sector was pretty average, but then finally we managed to hook up a good final sector. Like I say, we were really struggling in the early part of the weekend with the reprofiled track, but we gained so much time in those couple of corners there, and as we come to the turn 14 and 15 chicane, we were almost 0.4 up on our previous best, and coming through 16 now, it was, yeah, a brilliant final sector to put us P11, which turned into P13 at the end of the session, which means finally after 6 races we're through to Q2. Unfortunately, Matsushita had a horrific qualifying and actually qualified behind George Russell. And that wasn't great for him, so he'll be starting from 21st. But ourselves, well, the sky was feeling like the limit at this point as we go out the garage for our second run in Q2, I think. We only used 2 sets of tyres in Q1 as well, which gave us a fresh set for the second qualifying session. And this was the run which we went out and set our fastest time on the new compound of tyre. And we had to be a bit careful as well, because of course, if we do magically make it through to Q3, this would be the set of tyres which we'd have to use. But that is a long way off thinking at the moment, because we're only at the start of our Q2 lap. Sat in P14 at the moment and braking at the 100 metre board into the first corner, clipping that inside apex. And you can definitely take a lot more curb on this year's game compared to F1 2019. And we make sure to make full use of it now as we come towards turn 4. Braking on the curbing just under the Pirelli board, trying to get it turned in. We're 0.3 up on our previous best time on a scrubbed set of soft tyres. Braking now downhill into turn 5 before getting the car all straightened up on the run to this very quick left-right chicane. Again, mounting the curb on the inside, but not taking too much to compromise our speed before turning right, almost keeping the throttle pinned through turn 9, and on the run down to the end of the second sector, over 0.4 up on our previous best, and only a little bit behind Esteban Ocon's time in P12. Now getting it turned in to turn 12, where we really get a lot of understeer, but we're 0.7 up now, and not quite clipping that inside apex at 13, but now into the 14-15 chicane, taking that beautifully. Probably could have taken a little bit more speed on exit, but nonetheless, as we come through turn 16, over 0.7 up on our previous best time, which puts us P13 for the meantime. And at the end of the session, that gets us P14 on the grid, which I didn't think was too bad. Unfortunately, we're behind Antonio Giovinazzi, despite him being in a statistically slower car. But I will take that. And Pierre Gasly was eliminated in Q1, which gives us 1 up on our rivalry and takes us 16 to 14 points.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, We have Hamilton, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez and Lance Stroll, Norris, Giovinazzi, Buchan and Kvyat, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Pierre Gasly and George Russell, Magnussen, Matsushita, Ocon and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So onto the grid we go then, and starting in P13 after Esteban Ocon's penalty. In terms of the race strategy for today's race, it's looking like an easy one-stop, of course. Stopping on lap 6 and doing 11 laps on the mediums. But now we go on to the formation lap, where it is a Mercedes on pole of Valtteri Bottas looking to stop the rot, because it's 5 wins in a row this season for Ferrari, and it's a Ferrari 1-2 in the standings with Leclerc ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and it's a little bit of Noah's Ark in the top 6. So 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, followed by 2 Red Bulls, and of course the standings reflect that. We're still in P10, yet to get off the mark this season in terms of points, but can we do so today? It's our best grid position of the season so far, and now we go to the 5 red lights here for the Spanish Grand Prix, and it is lights out and away we go. The lights were on for an age, but we managed to time the start brilliantly. Already gets ahead of Giovinazzi, and it's an awful start for Lance Stroll as well. And we're going to go to the outside and follow Lando Norris into turn 1, side by side with Daniel Ricciardo in that yellow Renault car, and we're still going to be side by side through turn 2, and we get ahead of him, and it looks as if Giovinazzi has followed us through as well. So Ricciardo looks as if he got pinched to the inside, and we are up into P10 as the McLarens are jostling for 7th position up ahead. So that should mean that we can close in to the back of Sergio Perez and the 2 McLarens. But what a brilliant start that was, making up 3 positions. And yeah, up to P10, the first time I think that on merit we have been in a points paying position, as we get this stunning camera angle through turn 9. You can see very much on the edge as we're coming now on the straight towards turn 10, and very, very slowly are the cars going ahead, of course, all in formation by the looks of things at the moment, as we take the inside line here into turn 10, and just closing up to Perez, making sure that he knows that we're there. We're within 0.3 of a second of the Mexican, and getting it turned in now to the chicane. It's all about getting a good exit. But yeah, we got a little bit of oversteer through there, and as we activate the overtake ERS mode, we got a lot of wheel spin through that final corner, and Kimi Raikkonen, who is just behind us, in fact it's not Giovinazzi, it's Kimi Raikkonen that's in P11 behind us, is trying to go all the way round the outside. He has come from absolutely nowhere to come and try and overtake us. So it's a brilliant start from Kimi Raikkonen. We go side by the looks of things through turn 3. We are just about a nose ahead, and we are going to have the inside line, so that gives us the advantage there. But we run a little bit wide by braking late, but this isn't a part of the circuit where overtaking is particularly available or prominent. So we keep our 10th position for the meantime, but you can see that already Sergio Perez says he's 0.3 of a second ahead. I think that's 1.3 seconds, if I'm being honest. But take a look at a replay on board with our teammate Nobuharu Matsushita, who had a brilliant start. So he was starting from P20 on the grid, I believe, immediately getting past the Haas car of Kevin Magnussen and sizing up George Russell for P19, and he just absolutely dives it down the inside of quite a number of cars, and manages to get side by side with the 2 Alpha Tauris, and through turn 3 has the inside line and gets up right behind Antonio Giovinazzi. So that is a brilliant start from our teammates, and I think that puts him in about P15, I want to say. But yeah, skipping ahead now on to lap 3, back with the live action, and that is a slow moving Red Bull of Max Verstappen by the looks of things, and it is a retirement for the Red Bull man, and that gives us another position. We're now up to P9 in this race. We get a little bit distracted there by the stricken car of Verstappen, and well, Kimi Raikkonen trying to put it down our inside at turn 13. So we're struggling for pace a bit at this stage of the race. Really can't keep up with Sergio Perez. And already Daniel Ricciardo has come into the pits behind us, and also one of the Mercedes is in, so that will promote us up to P8 temporarily. And it looks as if Raikkonen is now going to go down our inside. So he's caught us unawares. We really didn't think he was going to be a threat from behind on the straight, because I thought we'd pulled out enough of a gap. But we really got caught napping there. And it looks as if Raikkonen has put the move on us. We're going to try and go all the way around the outside of the flying fin. And have we just about made it? No, he gets the better line and the better exit out of the corner in that Alfa Romeo. And that could be crucial. So it puts us down to a net P10. But as I said, Ricciardo has come in behind us, so yeah, we're going to have to make sure that he doesn't get the undercut on us, although it's a very, very early pit stop. So yeah, I'd imagine he's gone onto the hard compound of tyre, which of course will be slower than the soft or even the medium tyres that we will go onto later in the race. We've stayed on board now on lap 4 because we really, really need to stay close to Kimi Raikkonen. Unfortunately, we've got quite a bit of fuel to burn, so we will be able to utilise rich mix if needed. But now getting it turned in this final sector as well as possible. It's all about getting that good exit off this corner, and we go into overtake ERS mode. Now on to the DRS as well. We're about half a second behind Raikkonen as we start lap 5. We're using all of the toys that we've got available to us. DRS, ERS, rich mix, but still can't close in on the Alfa Romeo driver, who has that very, very quick Ferrari engine in the back of his car. In the middle sector though, this car is feeling a lot more hooked up than in previous races. Of course, our engine's not quite on the level of that Ferrari, and that is really, really showing at the moment. Raikkonen just bolting from us out of that final corner every time. I assume he's also saving his overtake ERS mode for that final corner. And we still can't get within half a second of him at the start of lap 6. But coming towards the end of the lap, this is our scheduled pit stop. And yes, Raikkonen isn't coming in, so we're going to do the reverse. And we now just got to get it slowed down into the pit lane. It's a very difficult pit lane to actually see where the board is when the sun's out because of all the shadows. But still, we get it slowed down in time. And it is now on our pit crew to give us another slick stop. They've done well for us. They did well for us in Australia and China, so hopefully it can be the same again today. But they were a little bit slow actually starting to put tyres on the car there, which resulted in a 2.9 second stop, which isn't disastrous, but still not as good as we've had in previous races. But now it's just about getting out onto the track and putting in some laps. But you can see Daniel Ricciardo, it's not even close. He has jumped us and he's 2.8 seconds down the road. And he's also on the medium compound of tyres, so it's going to be interesting to see what his degradation is like on those. But we've now dropped out of a net points position, and we've had to try and put in as good a lap as possible in order to get back ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. We got a bit of a tank slapper out of the final corner, but nonetheless we are really, really pushing. And now there is Kimi Raikkonen. He's out of the pits and he's ahead of us. It looks as if he's in fact gained on us on that outlap, which is an absolute disaster, and we're out in P11 now. But Raikkonen, interestingly, has gone for the hard compound of tyre. So we're on the mediums, which I believe will still make it to the end. But we're really going to have to pounce soon before the hard tyres start to have an advantage later on in the Grand Prix, where of course he'll have less degradation. And of course Daniel Ricciardo, who is there in P9, be interesting to see whether we can catch up to him, because his tyres are 4 laps older than ours. But there you can see on lap 8 we were really close to Raikkonen, and we've completely bottled it by getting an awful exit. A really, really big tank slapper, which has been a problem for us all weekend out of that corner. We were just a little bit too eager on the throttle. But now we go again on lap 9. We're just about within a second, so it's going to be difficult to close up. But this is really going to show how much time we gain from actually being in the DRS zone. So in 9/10 as we activate the DRS, it's down below 8/10. Can we get it even further? Below 7/10. So we're gaining about 2.5 tenths on the DRS. I think if we can get any closer to him, of course, we'll have the slipstream effect as well. But even with DRS, it's nowhere near as powerful as on the previous game on F1 2019. So we're going to have to get a lot closer to the back of that Alfa Romeo. And on lap 11, we can't get close enough. And the same story again on lap 12. We're just not close enough and can't get within half a second of that Alfa Romeo car. You can see really getting a lot of understeer through turn 9, which causes us not to gain at all on the second DRS zone between turns 9 and 10. And now it's just about trying to stick with him through this final section on lap 13. A bit of a mistake there from Raikkonen. Really got his tail out, and it's good to see that the AI are making mistakes on this game. We saw Esteban Ocon spin his car around in the Dutch Grand Prix, and there we saw Kimi Raikkonen struggle to get traction out of turn 12, which is a very understeery off-camber corner. But now we activate the DRS. We're within 0.6 of a second, which is, I think, about as close as we have got to Kimi Raikkonen. We've got everything enabled on the run down to turn 1, and we get within 0.3 of a second. But as we have to get it all slowed down in time, we can't gain any further. And we're going to have to, I think, try and get him on another lap. And we get so much understeer through turn 3, running off the track. That is what happens when you're running so closely to a car ahead. And it's the same story on lap 15. We get close, but not quite close enough. This is really, really going to go down to the wire now. As we've got Lance Stroll behind us as well. But on lap 16, we can't get the move done, which means that it's just one more opportunity on the start of lap 17. We're about 0.7 of a second behind Raikkonen, which is going to be difficult, but we're going to use everything that we've got available to us. Use all of our overtake mode right on the run down to turn 1. You can see behind Matsushita has made his way up to P13, meaning that this car has definitely got the pace on the Alfa Romeo. And we go to the inside, but it's not close enough on Kimi Raikkonen. We're going to have one more opportunity between turns 9 and 10 on the second DRS zone. But we really, really struggle to keep with him through turn 3, getting so much understeer in the dirty air there. So, yeah, we're just going to stick behind, go down to lean mix, because you can see the fuel mixture. We're a little bit short, considering this is the last lap of the race, but we've got a little bit of overtake ERS to use if need be. As Raikkonen, once again, struggling to get a grip through those corners. And as we go through this turn 9, all-important turn 9, we are nowhere near close enough to make a move on Kimi Raikkonen. So I think we're just going to have to settle for P11 in this race. Matsushita really made inroads on ourselves, and it just shows that we definitely have the pace on Raikkonen, but just not quite enough to have overtaken him. So we come through this chicane at 14 and 15 now. Charles Leclerc is the man that's taken the checkered flag once again for Ferrari. And we come round the final corner for a bittersweet moment. It's our best result of the season, but it's only P11, so close to points. And once again, we miss out on that elusive 10th place or above finish. Our teammate Matsushita gets driver of the day. He's made up a hell of a lot of positions during the race, but no one could match that man, Charles Leclerc. It's 6 wins out of 6 for Ferrari, can you believe? And that's with even with Mercedes at the top of the performance chart now. So a real big statement from the Scuderia, who will be extending their lead at the top of the standings. And that man, Daniel Ricciardo, was the thorn in my side this afternoon.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
They do indeed do it again. Like I say, 6 out of 6 for them. And, yeah, 2nd and 3rd for Mercedes. So, showing that Merc is a quick car. But Charles Leclerc has been absolutely on one this season. And we'll take a look in a minute at what the driver's standings are saying. But in terms of the race results, Ricciardo and Raikkonen, the 2 Rs, were the thorn in my side this afternoon. Ricciardo going for that undercut strategy, and Raikkonen keeping us at bay for that entire second stint, and pretty much from about lap 2 of the Grand Prix, which was really, really disappointing in for ourselves. Matsushita, though, from P20 up to 13, really, really encouraging that this car is quick enough to be scoring points. Of course, Max Verstappen didn't finish this afternoon, so it was essentially P12 for us on merit. But yeah, you've got to pick up the pieces when the big boys retire. In terms of the drivers' standings, it is Leclerc on top ahead of Hamilton. Now, Hamilton's not won a race all season, but he's stayed really, really consistent and is in P2 in the standings, ahead of Vettel and Bottas, with Albon now ahead of Verstappen. And in terms of the constructors, we move ahead of AlphaTauri with that 11th place finish. So we're up into P9, which is good. And yeah, next step, definitely score points and get ahead of Haas. Now, in terms of the rivalry breakdown, of course, as I said, we've moved ahead of AlphaTauri in the standings, and it's 20-16 in the rivalry breakdown. And we gain a little bit more acclaim, moving up to level 7, very close to getting a new sponsor, which I believe happens at level 8, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, not going too badly. Unfortunately, we didn't get asked very many questions by the press this weekend, meaning that we didn't even get to accomplish that objective, which was a little bit strange. But nonetheless, we're still up to 1.25 million, so it's not all looking bad. And that is it for today's Spanish Grand Prix, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed the race, and leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you next time for the Monaco Grand Prix. Bye-bye.